This is Class 91.3.
Hello, welcome to the Friday edition of 12 Live here on Class 91.3 FM in Accra and affiliates across the country. If you're listening in the Voto region, this is OFM 92.5, the Ghana FM 102.5 is also picking the bulletin live in Tamale. We are live on Radio Wa 92.1 in the Upper West region. We are live on Radio Power 96 in Spain and around the world. You can join us on classfmonline.com. And coming up this afternoon, business community expresses relief following government's decision to rule out new taxes and confirm operational takeoff of the Women's Development Bank in the 2026 mid-year budget review.
The minister also mentioned some issues that we think it was also in the interest of trade.
This is what we want, making the money and then plugging all the loopholes and making sure that the revenue that has to come to the country.
Meanwhile, the minority in Parliament has criticized the 2026 mid-year budget review, describing it as a disconnect from the realities facing Ghanaians.
Such a statement must cause palpitation among ministers of state.
This is the worst budget performance since 2016.
Also coming up in this bulletin, South Africa shares its relationship with Ghana and remains strong despite immigration tension.
There was an agreement between ourselves and Ghana that the current migration-related challenges will not stand in the way of South Africa-Ghana bilateral relations. It does not impact the Ghana-South Africa bilateral relations because South Africa and Ghana have got long-enduring good friendship and relations.
And it's 14 years since President Atamos died.
Let me tell you this thing. We should all work together. We in NDC, we have a job to do. Let us make use of the facilities which have been given to us.
The Tema Police Command intensified operation against crime, leading to the arrest of suspects.
Arrest and interception of Akrofi. Police rejected 150,000 Ghana cedis as bribe. On 15 February 2026, police intercepted.
Also coming up in this bulletin, Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly explains circumstances surrounding clash between police officer and towing company staff. In African news, South Africa's president wins bid to temporarily halt impeachment inquiry over Farmgate. These plus many other stories coming your way shortly.
And as always, we're grateful that you could join us here on 12 Live on Class 91.3 FM. My name is Charles Akrofi, and I'm doing this with
Elizabeth Aidoo.
We're starting off from Parliament, and we are not seeking additional funds. Rather, we are not seeking to ask for more money. Those were the words of Finance Minister Dr. Akrofi and Aidoo as he touted government's achievements in Parliament during the presentation of the 2026 mid-year budget review. Yesterday, the minister outlined updates on the economy, revenue measures, expenditure priorities, and steps being taken to address key national challenges. In the review, he highlighted progress in implementing the 2026 budget while announcing adjustments to programs and policies in response to emerging economic challenges or conditions. Government insists the measures will strengthen economic recovery and improve livelihood. But critics and industry players are questioning their impact on businesses, jobs, and household incomes. There's more in the following report.
Finance Minister Dr. Akrofi and Aidoo has announced that Ghana's economy has crossed the $100 billion mark for the first time, as he outlined what he described as major gains in growth, inflation control, fiscal management, and debt restructuring. Presenting the 2026 mid-year fiscal policy review in Parliament on Thursday, July 23, Dr. Akrofi said the economy's performance reflected what he described as the outcome of government economic management strategy rather than external factors alone.
Ghana has not merely met its first half-year target, it has exceeded them. Mr. Speaker, overall GDP growth was 6.4% in the first quarter of 2026, well ahead of the 4.8% full-year target. Non-oil GDP growth was 6.3% in the first quarter of 2026, well ahead of the 4.9% full-year target. Inflation has more than halved.
Dr. Forson also attributed the economic turnaround to the three major interventions: fiscal correction, tax reforms, and coordinated fiscal and monetary policies aimed at stabilizing inflation and the exchange rate. He said primary expenditure declined from 18.7% of GDP in 2024 to 13.2% in 2025, while the primary balance improved from a deficit of 2.9% of GDP to a surplus of 2.5% over the same period.
The results have been remarkable. Despite abolishing multiple taxes and introducing no new tax handle, non-oil tax revenue increased by 0.5% of GDP, from 12.6% of GDP in 2024 to 13.1% of GDP in 2025. Simply put, government collected more taxes in 2025 even after abolishing the nuisance taxes.
The minister also highlighted the government's decision to reduce the number of ministers from 123 to 60 and ministries from 30 to 23 as part of effort to reduce public spending.
We reduced the number of ministers from 123 at its peak to 60 and reduced the number of ministries from 30 to 23 because, Mr. Speaker, because a leaner government is not merely good politics, but it's also a sound fiscal policy. We curtailed non-essential expenditure, including excessive foreign travel, workshops, conferences, and unnecessary vehicle procurement.
On debt management, Dr. Forson announced that Ghana successfully raised $2.7 billion through a 7-year cedi-dominated bond in April 2026, the first such issuance since the 2022 debt default.
3 years restriction on new cedi bond issuance introduced as a result of the debt default caused this original sin. In April 2026, Ghana successfully raised $2.7 billion through its first 7-year cedi-denominated bond since the 2022 debt default. This marks an important step in rebuilding the domestic bond market and restoring long-term financing.
The finance minister credited the Ghana Gold Board with generating an additional $15 billion in foreign exchange inflows. He said the intervention helped improve Ghana's current account balance from a surplus of 1.9% of GDP in 2024 to 8.3% in 2025.
Central to this reform was the establishment of the Ghana Gold Board to curb gold smuggling, formalize the gold trade, and ensure that a greater share of Ghana's mineral wealth benefit the Ghanaian people. Through this intervention, Ghana generated an additional $15 billion in foreign exchange inflows from gold, significantly strengthening reserve accumulation and supporting exchange rate stability.
The mid-year fiscal policy review is expected to attract further scrutiny from the minority in parliament, economic analysts, and rating agencies, particularly regarding debt repayment obligations in 2027 and 2028, and whether economic growth is translating into improved living conditions for households.
And that was a desk report. Now, the Minority Caucus in Parliament has criticized the government's 2026 mid-year budget review, describing it as uninspiring and disconnected from the economic realities facing Ghanaians. Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin and the Member of Parliament for Damongo, Samuel Abu-Jinapo, outlined their concerns.
The finance minister has just told this house that the true character of a finance minister is not determined by how much he spends. Such a statement must cause palpitation among ministers of state. Mr. Speaker, basically what he is telling all ministers that he is not going to spend, he is not going to release funds to you. Already you are suffering and you've been redundant in your various ministries. His deputy minister told the nation that 1.6 billion was released to the agri minister. Today, he says only 1.1 billion. You see, the true measure of a finance minister is not how much he spends. Mr. Speaker, throughout his review, there was no policy announcement for the cocoa sector.
This is the worst budget performance since 2016, and the Statistical Service has come out with the figures which have shown that the performance of the budget in the first quarter of 2026, in terms of the differentials between estimates and actuals, in terms of the differentials between estimates and actual payment, what has really been spent is 30% short, and this is the worst since 2016. And this is the point the minority keeps making, which is that this is the fundamental reason why on the streets of our country you find people talk about there is no money in our pocket, there's lack of liquidity, there is unemployment, cost of living is still unbearable.
And those are some reaction from the minority side of the House. And the presentation has since triggered reactions from businesses, economists, political actors, and other stakeholders with varying assessment of the government's performance and the outlook for the economy. The Food and Drugs, that's the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, assessed the government's media budget review with a focus on how the announced measures will affect production costs, taxation, local manufacturing, and consumer prices. Executive Secretary for the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana spoke on 505.
This is what we want, making the money and then plugging all the loopholes and making sure that the revenue that has to come to the country really comes. If we get that revenue, I'm sure we are not going to face incessant increases in certain taxes and all that. You are making the money. It will get to a time that you need to give, or the consumer or the taxpayer also will have to benefit from that windfall. If certain people are enriching themselves through corruption and other things, and we are not making the money that we're supposed to make, then obviously what is going to happen is that the taxes will be imposed on the only few people who will be paying. We need to broaden up. As I said, 60% of our tax revenue goes waste through certain individuals, which we don't know. And therefore, they need to plug that hole. And then definitely there's going to be some corruption somewhere. But at least if it's reduced to the barest minimum of 10%, this country will go a long way to making the necessary revenue that our taxes will come down for us to be able to pay. So lower taxes, higher the compliance. That is how it is. Mr. Forson has made it very clear to us that by reducing, we are able to raise it. So they need to go ahead. Now, if you come to the beverage sector, we have products that are charged through the corporate area. And I think yesterday when I had a chance to speak with your news team, I made it clear that if government need to touch anything, then we need to look at the corporate taxes. But fortunately, he made mention that certain taxes are going to be reduced in the area of the fruit juices and other production sectors. A product like water need not to be on the list of the excise duty. It has to be fruit juices. When you import fruit juices, you pay 20%. The water or the local production for excise duty is 17%, which is very, very high. Import is 20%. We agree. For the import, we need to do something about it.
And Samala Agri is the Executive Secretary for the Food and Beverages Association. So what does the budget really mean for players in the business community? The Ghana Traders, or the Ghana Union of Traders Association, is also weighing in on the government's latest economic policy direction. According to Guta, on top of their list of expectations was the Women's Development Bank, and the Finance Minister has given the assurance of commencing by end of year. Clement Boateng is the president of Guta, and he has been speaking with my colleague, Iradra Crunchy.
Some of our expectations, had to do with the 24-hour economy. Some had to do with the rationalization of the duty regime. Some had to do with the support for Guta as far as the 24-hour economic program is concerned. Then we also had issues with the 20%, standard VAT, which was introduced in the early part of the year. And then we also had issues or expectations with the Women's Bank. So of all our four expectations, it's only the Women's Bank that I can say was addressed. And in our expectation, we were looking at how soon the operationalization of the Women's Bank will come into being. And rightly, the minister gave an answer that hopefully by the end of the year, we will see the operationalization of the Women's Bank. Of our expectations, that was met. But irrespective of that, I think if we want to talk about the generality of the budget, I think the minister also mentioned some issues that we think it was also in the interest of trade.
Well, so that was an interview my colleague Iradra Crunchy had with the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association.
South African government has reaffirmed its commitment to its long-standing relationship with Ghana despite recent concern over the migration and xenophobic attack. The Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Roland Lamola, says the relationship remains strong. His comment comes after President Mahama called on the African Union to place xenophobic attack in South Africa on its agenda. Speaking during a meeting with the chairperson of the African Union Commission and at the Jubilee House, the president questioned the response of authorities to the attack, saying those responsible are known but continue to act without impunity.
In South Africa, for the countries that have been victims, it's been a very traumatic affair. When something like this happens, it sets all of us back. People have been displaced, their property has been taken, their businesses have been closed, and indeed we lost two of our citizens who were killed. Several people were injured and had to be admitted in hospital. And it doesn't appear that the South African authorities are responding to the magnitude that one would expect them to do. The persons who are funding these xenophobic attacks are known, and they've been left free to continue to do what they want to do, and so it's become something they are doing with impunity at very high cost to us. We had to charter planes to go to South Africa to evacuate our citizens. We operated 3 charter flights, and we're operating another 3 charter flights because there's still about another 900 who have signed on voluntarily to come back home. And they come back with nothing. Most of them just the clothes on their back and a small bag. And some of them have lived there for 15, 20 years. They have set up businesses, and we've had to pay them reintegration fees, allowances to allow them to be able to reintegrate into society.
That's President John Dramani Mahama responding to concerns over the xenophobic attack. The South African's Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Roland Lamola, says the long-standing ties between Ghana and South Africa remain strong despite recent migration-related tensions.
With regards to the question you've asked, what do we make of the continuous deluge of criticism from Ghana, and the statement that the African Union chair has made. Indeed, I was in Ghana 2 days ago, and on behalf of President Ramaphosa as a special envoy, where I delivered a special message. There was an agreement between ourselves and Ghana that the current migration-related challenges will not stand in the way of South Africa-Ghana bilateral relations. It does not impact the Ghana-South Africa bilateral relations because South Africa and Ghana have got long enduring good friendship and relations. And they said they are raising this matter to give South Africa also an opportunity to explain itself with regards to what is currently happening in the migration issues. And I think it is in that context that President Mahama raised the matter from the video clips I've seen and the newspaper articles that I have seen. So we did explain. One of the issues that also was raised was that all countries have got a right to enforce, it's within the sovereign state to enforce immigration laws. Immigration must be regular, must be orderly, in line with the protocols of the AU, of our own SADC. It should not be a disorder. We have said as a South African government, we condemn. We do not promote any private citizen taking the law into their own hands, and we call for law enforcement agencies to arrest any perpetrator who takes the law into their own hands. With regards to the question,
that's Roland Lamola, who is the South African Minister of International Relations and Cooperation.
Now, 14 years ago, Ghana woke up to the painful news of the passing of its sitting president, Professor John Evans Atta Mills. His death on July 24, 2012, marked a defining moment in the country's democratic journey, but also tested Ghana's commitment to constitutional order and peaceful transitions. Today, as the nation remembers his life and legacy, we take a look back at the man behind the presidency, a leader celebrated for his humility, integrity, and unwavering commitment to peace.
I have just arrived from the U.S., where I undertook a regular medical checkup. Thank God, everything is okay.
Today marks 14 years since Ghana lost a sitting president, Professor John Evans Atta Mills, whose leadership continues to shape conversations around peace, unity, and democratic governance. Professor John Evans Atta Mills passed away on July 24, 2012, while serving as the President of the Republic of Ghana, marking one of the most significant moments in the country's Fourth Republic. At the time of his death, Professor Mills was 68 years old and had served as President since January 2009. After winning the 2008 presidential election, his passing made him the first sitting Ghanaian president to die while in office. The news of his death shocked the nation and drew tributes from political leaders, institutions, and citizens across Ghana and beyond. Despite the grief that followed, Ghana's democratic institutions remained strong as then Vice President John Dramani Mahama was sworn in as a president on the same day in accordance with the Constitution, ensuring a peaceful transfer of power. Professor Mills was widely respected for his humility, integrity, and calm leadership style. During his time in office, he emphasized national unity, peace, constitutional governance, and the need for political tolerance. Known affectionately as Asumdie, the King of Peace, his approach to leadership was characterized by dialogue and a commitment to maintaining stability during periods of intense political competition. Before becoming president, Professor Mills had served as vice president under President Jerry John Rawlings from 1997 to 2001. He also worked as a legal scholar and lecturer, contributing to academia before entering active politics. His administration oversaw several initiatives in areas including infrastructure development, education, healthcare, and economic management, while his personal values and leadership style remain central to how many Ghanaians remember him. On this 14th anniversary of his passing, tributes continue to highlight his dedication to public service and his belief in putting the national interest above personal and political consideration. Many Ghanaians continue to remember Professor John Evans Atta Mills as a leader whose life represented peace, humility, honesty, and service to country. His legacy as Ghana's man of peace remains a significant part of the nation's democratic history.
Let me tell you this thing. We should all work together. We in NDC, we have a job to do. Let us make use of the facilities which have been given to us.
So that was a report put together by my colleague Portia Bokui there, remembering the man, Professor John Evans Atta Mills. We say that Mede Asumdie continue to rest in peace. And this is 12 Live on Class 91.3 FM. To some other stories now.
The Tema Regional Police Command has intensified operations against criminal activities in the region, leading to the arrest of several suspects and the recovery of weapons, stolen goods, and large quantity of suspected narcotic substances. Deputy Commissioner of Police Eric Aidoo Asamoah said the command has made progress in 3 armed robbery investigations, 3 narcotic-related cases, and 1 murder case as part of efforts to strengthen security and protect lives and properties.
Briefing to update you on a number of significant arrests and development recorded by the Regional Command in recent weeks. These include progress made in 3 armed robbery investigations, 3 narcotic-related cases, and 1 murder case, all of which are currently under active investigation or prosecution within the region. The cases reflect the ongoing efforts of the police administration, law and order across the communities. Beyond these operational updates, the command also wishes to draw public attention to emerging security concerns within the region, including student unrest, chieftaincy disputes, land guard activities, and security preparation ahead of the upcoming Homo Festival.
Meanwhile, the police command says one suspected armed robber was killed during a gun battle with police after the officer moved in to foil a planned robbery operation.
Security preparation ahead of the upcoming Homo Festival. We now proceed to the details. On the night of 14th July 2026, the Zenu Atadeka Police Command received intelligence of a planned robbery at Zenu Obatime. Acting on the information, a police team conducted surveillance operations in the area on 15th and 16th July 2026. In the early hours of 16th July 2026, the team encountered 4 suspects. The suspects who were armed opened fire on the police. The police responded in self-defense. The body of the deceased has been deposited at the police hospital mortuary for preservation and escaped with injuries. Items retrieved at the scene have been retained as exhibit, including weapons. The body of the deceased has been deposited at the police hospital mortuary for preservation and autopsy. The command has alerted all health facilities within the district to report any persons who seek treatment for gunshot wounds. Investigations are ongoing to apprehend the remaining suspects. Second armed robbery case. Police arrest 5 suspects and recovered stolen goods in robbery at Mami's Recipe Warehouse, Tema Committee 9.
That's the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Eric Esiedu Asamoah.
Now, the United Arab Emirates has launched an emergency humanitarian response to support thousands of people affected by the June 29 floods in Ghana. The relief intervention announced by UAE Times follows a directive from UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan and is being coordinated through the UAE Aid Agency. The UAE is providing essential food supplies and emergency shelter materials to families impacted by the disaster as part of efforts to ease humanitarian challenges caused by the floods. The June 29 floods, triggered by hours of heavy rainfall, devastated communities in the Greater Accra, Volta and Central region, destroying homes, businesses and critical infrastructure. The disaster affected more than 131,000 people, claimed 45 lives and displaced nearly 40,000 residents, with many families still in need of support. The UAE's intervention is expected to complement ongoing relief efforts by the Government of Ghana, the National Disaster Management Organization, and other humanitarian partners assisting affected communities.
The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly has distanced its security task force from a viral confrontation involving a police officer and personnel of a towing company in the Ashanti regional capital. There's more in the following report.
So, according to the statement, the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly wishes to clarify the fact surrounding a viral video on social media depicting a heated confrontation between a police officer and the personnel from Day and Night Towing Service, a contractor of the KMA, on Tuesday, July 21, 2026, at approximately 2 p.m. at Roman Hill. Towing's personnel claimed and initiated the towing of an unauthorized touring car. During this confrontation, a uniformed police officer identified as Y.E. Abuaji claimed ownership of the vehicle, challenged the towing team's authority, and allegedly threatened to shoot a towing officer in the foot.
That's a report on the statement released by the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly.
Now let's do some international stories. And a South African court has ruled in favor of President Cyril Ramaphosa's bid to temporarily halt a parliamentary inquiry looking into whether he should be impeached over what has been described or has been dubbed the Farmgate scandal. In 2022, an independent panel said Ramaphosa might have a case to answer after burglars stole huge sums of cash hidden in a sofa from his private farm. The president denied any wrongdoing, and at the time MPs voted against establishing an impeachment inquiry. But in May, the Constitutional Court ruled that Parliament had acted unlawfully by shelving the panel's report. Ramaphosa is now challenging the findings of the panel in a separate court case to be heard in September. The Constitutional Court's ruling in May paved the way for Parliament to revive the impeachment process.
Now, are you ready to review your fortune review? Scratch for win is here to change your life for good. Just dial *850*5# and win up to 1 million Ghana cedis or more in cash prizes instantly. It's easy, it's exciting, and regulated by the National Lottery Authority. Just dial star 850 star 5 hash to play now on all network. Choose your station to play. Select stake amount from 5 cedis to 2,000 Ghana cedis. Choose your lucky card out of the 5 options. Confirm gameplay and enter your Momo pin. Receive your game results and winnings instantly. It's easy, fun, and exciting. Get ready to scratch, win, and live your best life with Review Scratch for Win. Up to 1 million Ghana cedis up for grabs. Review Scratch for Win. Scratch Kike. That is Seibam. Now this is a Class News at 12 right here on Class 91.3 FM. For more news and update, do log on to classfmonline.com. The news team will be back on 5:05 with Nana Ajiman Prepare. Just stay and enjoy the rest of our programs. I am Elizabeth Aidoo.
And I'm Charles Akrofi. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.